What's going on, y'all? It's all Daryl the Don, Boogie Boy Void, and we are Basement Talk.
Absolutely.
We got a special guest here today, y'all. Liva.
Thank you, brother.
A Philadelphia artist and songwriter. In 1999, he started with Major Figures. In 2000, he came along with the Clips, Pusha T, and No Malice, along with Sandman, the Re-Up Gang. They had several mixtapes, a series of mixtapes called We Get It For Cheap. Am I right?
We got it for cheap.
We got it for cheap. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We gotta respect this man pen. And Philly, we think he the ghost. And you know what the ghost, respect the Styles P, but you know, that's the pen behind it all. So we gotta respect this man, you know what I'm saying? He's respected in the genre of hip hop. Liva, what's going on, OG?
Man, thank you for that introduction, man. I appreciate it. Man, I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy
Thank
to be
you for
here.
coming.
No, you're welcome, brother. You know what I mean? As soon as you hit me up, I'm like, man, listen, let's line it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited to be here.
Listen, man, the first time I met you was with my cousin, Big Demi.
Big Demi, man.
We was
like a
down
brother
at,
to me.
Yeah, we was down at 3801.
Yeah.
At the club, you know what I'm saying? I was parking my brother car, Big Lil, he had the
You know Lil my guy.
400, yeah.
You know Lil's my guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big Lil, that's the bro, that's the big homie. He had the party scene popping back in the day.
Man, listen, as soon as you said 38th and Market, I knew where you was going with it. 3801, them parties down there used to be crazy, man. That was a great time. 98, 99, 2000, anywhere, 3801, Delaware Avenue, the city was on fire. Mm-hmm. South Street, yeah, it was crazy.
You pulled up on me, you was in something nice back in the day, man. I don't know if it was a Tahoe, Yukon, or something husky. And when I seen you, I was like, damn, that's being a Philly dude, you know how we kind of like try to hold back.
Yeah.
We don't want to be dick eaters or whatever, but at the end of the day, I was like, damn, that's Liva.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you was thorough, humble. And ever since I seen you after that, you always showed me love. You never act funny, and I learned from that, and I respect that, and I appreciate that.
Man, it's great.
Always, I hit you up, yo, Liva. Can you holler at me? You know what I mean? Come to the studio, bust it up with me, chop it up with me on my podcast. Yeah, I'm gonna show you some love. I seen you at I think it was a party. It was Ditch Day.
Ditch Day, yeah.
You kept your word.
Yep.
Seen you at Ditch Day, yo. Yep. Can you jump on a podcast? No problem.
Yeah. I just told you to hit me when you was ready.
And you did it.
No, most
man
definitely.
Of your word.
Man, listen, go without saying, man, that's how it's supposed to be, though.
Exactly.
You think it would be like that with everybody.
It's not.
But you learn as time go on, man, that it's not. But all you can do is remain genuine, be yourself. And those are attributes that you have that'll get you a long way. Not in just the business, but in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of guys skip learning those things growing up, man. But I like to converse with people that's moving in the same direction. You know what I'm saying? I learned early on in the music business, you want to be around like-minded people that's moving in the same direction. You know what I'm saying? Because it's less likely for things to go left when everybody trying to move in the same direction toward a certain goal. You know what I mean? So when you told me what this consisted of what y'all was doing, I said, man, that's how it's supposed to go. That's how it's supposed to move.
Can't skip the process.
You
this
can't,
is the
man.
Foundation.
You can't skip steps.
Basement.
You can't skip steps. Exactly.
All right, I got a question for you. Since this the basement and this the foundation, you know, we had to learn from you today. You had to school us, you know what I mean? Because you've been through a lot. So I want to know, let's start from young Liva. I mean, tell us how it was growing up. I mean, and what ultimately made you get into the rap scene?
Yeah. You know, I'm from North Philly, and when I was like 7 or 8, my pop, real street dude, so my pop was on the run. And my grandmother's from Atlanta, so my mom's mom. So my mom picked my brother and I moved us to Atlanta. So I really grew up half in Atlanta. I stayed in Atlanta from the time I was like 7 till I started high school. But I would come back to Philly like every summer around like Christmas time, New Year's and whatnot. And I remember coming up, I had to be like maybe 10 or 11. And that's when hip hop really was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was really like getting going and whatnot. So it was kind of slow down south. But when I would come to Philly, like Pound 99 was popping, you dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would come up, and every time I would come up, I would just sit and listen to the radio and like, you dig what I'm saying?
Listen to the radio, man.
And listen to the radio and just hear all the newest stuff. So when I would go back to Atlanta, I'm like, man, y'all don't know about this, y'all don't know about that and whatnot. So I think that kind of like what sparked the interest in me, like, liking music.
Gotcha.
It wasn't until I got out of high school that some of the friends that I went to high school with started doing music. And one of my homies, his name is Lee. His parents let him turn the garage into a studio. He was the first person I ever knew that had a studio. And I would go and learn. I would go to his crib and just watch them because they would put music out back then and whatnot. I would go watch them, and then I had got in a group called Sons of Rage before I was in the figures. And I would go to Lee's, watch how they made music. They made my man go back to his basement and then work on music. So I spent a few years in the basement, like in the basement, learning how to make music. You know what I'm saying? Watching from my homework, and then I would come back and and start figuring it out how to do it and whatnot. So that was my my training. And then I would do like all like open mics. Like I knew here's the thing that a lot of young cats don't realize. You may have a talent, you might have a skill, but you got to work at it to get it where it needed to be. I knew I could rap, but I knew it wasn't where it needed to be. I knew I needed time in the basement to learn. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, man, if I work hard at this, I think I can get it to the point where as though I can compete with other people. But I knew I wasn't ready. Most people think they're ready. I can rap, put me on. No, it's not that simple. You don't really know what you're doing. You might go off instinct or feeling, but that doesn't mean you necessarily know what you're doing. So I spent time in the basement trying to figure it out. And then once I figured it out, then I'm like, oh man, let's go. You hit the gas once you figure it out and whatnot. So that was my whole learning process that led to me like really getting into music.
The basement is where the foundation is at.
Right.
Basement,
Now,
With my man Basement.
now, to go from starting in the basement, right, to now, and as you reflect, right, what's one of your biggest moments in your career?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you, up until the point I told you when I was in the basement of my homeboy, what I noticed was it was my producer and his brother rap with me too. I started noticing that I had more drive than they had. I was really like trying to do it, and they just didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of off-putting to me because I'm like, oh, like I'm driven.
I'm in this.
What happened at that same time was some dudes from up Erie Avenue from my way, like start rapping, like Bump, Dutch. We all knew each other. I knew Bump could rap. They used to try to get him to battle me when he would come through Broad area and whatnot. I knew Dutch was younger than us, but I knew he could rap. And Gil didn't rap. Like Gil played ball. His name Farad, so everybody knew him as Farad that played ball. You know what I'm saying? So he started rapping. Well, he actually told my brother, man, I'll bust your brother ass. This and that, but no, it's on my rapping.
Oh, okay.
So my brother sent me like, yo, I seen Farad.
Yeah.
I said, basketball Farad? Right?
Jersey.
Right. So I seen him at the Red Door Chinese store in Broad area.
Yeah.
And I said, yo, you told my brother? Yeah. So I said, go ahead. So he spit this little verse. He only had one verse. He spit this little verse. And then as soon as I went back at him, he told me, no, OG, I was tripping. And then from there, I just started taking him to the studio with me. And then that turned into all of us starting to do music together. So
that's dope.
We were on the same page, but the dudes I was with, I kind of just shifted from them to, and that's how the figures kind of came about.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Wallow went to jail. Because at first it was just Wallow and Gil. And Wallow went to jail, and me and Gil kept it going, and then kind of brought everybody else in and whatnot. That's how we started.
While we talking about the figures, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We got to get a reunion. That's going to be another conversation. That's I'm gonna say that.
Okay.
So, bro.
All right, because I'm from here. I'm another area Philadelphia.
Yeah.
My thing is, this is what I want to know.
Adelphian.
You
area.
Yeah, we different.
we different.
All the area guys, right? How did the Nice Town guy come?
Well, here's the thing, because I didn't know Spade.
Yeah.
Right. So me, Gil, Rolly, Dutch, Bump, and so this really when we first put the group together. So Gil said, "Yo, you got to hit my man." And Gil and Spade played low league football together. That's how they knew each other.
Nice Town, still is.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's how I knew him.
My homie from Nice Town. Cool.
That's how. I mean, so we drove up there and picked Spade up, and I'm in the front seat. My man Marcus Graham was driving. I'm in the front seat. Gil back here, and Spade got in behind me. So he got in and he spoke for everybody to speak, but he's sitting behind me. So Gil was like, man, just freestyle. And he just went. And he was going so long, I turned around like, who? I was like, oh man, done deal. Like he in. Like you know what I'm saying? Like on that one, me hearing him that one time, like, man, he in. Yeah. And then we just start rocking from there.
Another one, while we on Speedo, right? That's my second favorite, you know what I mean? What's up with Glory, man? It's not not there no more. Like I know some type of way, I know. I go to listen to it.
I get it all the time. So
not there.
So what happened is one of the cats that was on Glory that did a hook for us, he like signed a production grip, signed a agreement with these publishing people. And when they were trying to go through his catalog and whatnot, they asked him that he had publishing on the song with us, and he did. But for whatever reason, they put in they filed a complaint with everything that he was on. Like not just us.
Okay.
So DistroKid who distributed, they don't like to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So when a complaint comes in and whatnot, they kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
So we were gonna replace the song and put it back up, but because we finishing our second joint, we're gonna wait till right before then to put the board back up.
So definitely I would love to shoot a video for that.
Oh man, come on, man. Done deal.
Okay, man. And we're gonna get there down the
treat.
Oh yeah, done deal.
All right. What I want to ask you, how did you meet the Clips?
All right, man. So listen, so I'm gonna circle back around so it all makes sense. So the guy, Lee, I told you that I started going to learn to make music with, he had a group called 100X that was from Philly. And in the 90s, they had put out a bunch of projects, and Rasheed Wallace had got behind them, opened up a studio, opened up $1 million studio for them and whatnot. Those are the guys I learned from. Yeah. So when Gil started rapping, and I was taking him in the studios with me, our manager, my man Tino Brown, wanted to put out a single on Gilly. Yeah. So I took him to Lee, where I learned how to do music, to produce it. So Lee produced a song for Gil. It was called Love for Gilly. It was the first time I played on Pound 99 and whatnot, and my man Lee produced it. So what happened was Gil wound up getting signed to a down south label. He got a solo deal to Suave House Records. They had 8 Ball and MJG at the time, and they signed Gil. And they liked me, so they were trying to sign me too. So what they would do was when they would send Gil to Houston or Atlanta to work on, they would send me too, because I would help him structure songs, and they was trying to sign me too. So right around that time, this was 99, they were like, yo, we're gonna send you to Virginia to work with this up-and-coming producer, Pharrell from the Neptunes. Like he wasn't Pharrell at that time. He had did like Nori joint and like a remix or two, but he hadn't blew yet.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, he did the what joint. So
crazy.
Yeah.
Jones crazy too.
So we were about to leave to go to Virginia to work with him, and I ran into Lee, who had produced Gil John, who I learned how to do music. Yeah. So he was like, yo, what y'all up to? So I was like, yo, we about to go to Virginia, work with dude Pharrell and shit. He like, dog, that's my cousin. I'm like, what? He like, dog, nigga, that's my cousin. Like cousin, family reunion cousin. Yeah. I'm like, what? He like, man, I'm telling you. So Gil and I fly to Virginia. First time I meet Pharrell and Pusha T, they came pick us up at the airport. And we in the car riding. And I said to Pharrell, like, man, you got a cousin in Philly named Lee Johnson? He like, man, that's my cousin. Family reunion cousin. I make beats because he got the studio in the crib. Yeah. And we come up to Philly to the family reunion. Right?
Dang, that's crazy. That's
right.
Close.
So he started making beats.
Crazy.
He said, I was in the band. Yeah. And I started making beats because I would come to
Philly. Ain't that crazy?
I don't think nobody ever knew that.
I come to the family reunion with Philly.
Story.
And his parents let him turn the garage into a studio.
That's crazy.
That's why I started making beats.
That's crazy.
That's what he told me the first time I met him. So this is so back with the Neptunes, they were still at Chad mom crib and his bedroom, because that's where we went to Chad crib. He had a booth in his bedroom and whatnot. And they didn't know I rap. They knew I was with Gil. Yeah. So when they put beats on, Gil rap, Pusha rap, and when I start rhyming, they're like, "Oh, big man, you rhyming nice." So we worked with them for like 2 days, and when we were leaving, Pharrell was like, "Yo, man, I think you hot." He's like, "I don't know if you want to sign with Suave House or not, but I want to rock with you in the future." So I was like, "Man, I'm with it, this, that, and the other." And then we parted ways. That was summer of '99, like August.
Okay.
So fast forward, like 6 months later in December, the Neptunes had produced Philly Most Wanted whole album. Yep. Right? So they came to Philly to shoot one of the videos. So one of my homies called me like, yo, the Clips in them and Pharrell and them in Philly, they had Most Wanted video shoot out Southwest. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. So when I pull up on them, they're like, yo, I'm like, yo, because I hadn't seen them since August. Pharrell like, yo, everybody out here can rap. kids, grandma, everybody. Right? He like, yo,
Like,
he's like,
all
yo,
more dance.
it's crazy.
That's
and then he was like, yo, man, there's one kid I heard Roscoe P. Cold Chain, man, he crazy. I'm like, yo, that's my young guy. I mean, he like, yo, man, I like him. I think he hot. I'm like, cool. So we chop it up at the video shoot and we part ways. And that was it. So I had only met them when I went to Virginia for them 2 days and then seen them at the video shoot. Fast forward, I go to LA and start working with Dr. Dre, like doing writing and shit. And I was signed to Dr. Dre and whatnot. So 2 years later, I come home for New Year's. My brother got out of jail. My brother did 5 years. My brother get out of jail. And I'm almost getting to the part where the initial question.
Yeah.
So my brother come home after 5 years. I said, yo, let's go out, get some drinks. So we go to, remember when Transit used to be on on Spring Garden?
Okay. Yeah.
We go to Transit. So it's like 12:30 at night when we get there. So they want $100 a piece to get in there. So my brother like, yo, man, don't pay $200 for us to get in this drink. It's gonna close at like 2:30, whatever. So right before we go walk off, my man Tariq Wallace walks out. He like, yo, y'all trying to go in this joint? I got armbands. So he give me and my brother armband. So we was about to turn around and leave.
Yeah.
We walk in. As we going up the steps, Pusha and Pharrell coming down the steps. They happen to come to Philly for a party. So they see me like, yo. I'm like, yo, because I ain't seen them since the video shoot.
Yeah.
So they're like, yo, man, we on now. We got the deal. Pharrell got the label. We working on the album. We just was talking about getting you on a record. It sounded like Cap to me because I hadn't seen him in 2 years. They're like, no, we were just talking about getting you on his record. And it was like, man, is this still your number? And I was like, no, my joint changed. So I gave Pusha my number. And that was a Saturday night. And Monday morning, I got a call from the girl at Star Trek. Like, you booked on such and such flight on Wednesday going to Virginia Beach. I'm like, oh shit, they weren't playing. they weren't playing.
Yeah.
So that Wednesday morning, I wake up. I'm flying down there to get on the album. I don't know what the song sound like. I'm gonna re-rap it to. I don't know what the beat sound like. Nothing. And I was like, man, I don't want to go down here empty-handed. So let me just write something. So I had something to go off of. So I don't know if it's fast or slow. So if I write something mid-tempo, I can speed it up or slow it down depending on what it is. So I wrote like 8 bars. And I was like, all right, that's good enough. So I go get on my flight. I land. Pusha T come pick me up. So we ride. So I'm like, yo, dog, what the joint sound like? He told my nigga your head when we get to the I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, come on, man, because it really put me on the spot.
Yeah.
So we go get something to eat, and then we go to the studio. So when he tell the engineer to pull it up, he pulled up the joint, goddamn. And I'm like, and when I heard that beat, I'm like, hold on.
Yeah, that beat.
I get the rap.
Crazy.
I said, hold on. I get the rap that is beat.
For real. Yo.
Right?
Yo.
Because up until that point, I had worked with a Philly producer, but I hadn't worked with. Well, I had worked with Dr. Dre, but nothing had came out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was the first time that I got to rock with like a super producer who did it at that level on something that was going to be like a major release and whatnot. So when I go in the booth, I had the 8 bars. So I was like, I listened to the hook and what they were doing. So I was like, let me come up with 4 bars to start the verse off.
Yeah.
So I put the 4 bars I wrote at the beginning. And then I was like, I need 4 bars to end it. So let me end it out so it go into the hook, right? So I'm sitting there with it, I'm saying it to myself. I think it's fire. You know what I mean? So I recorded. And as a songwriter, you follow your instincts, but you're not 100% sure if that's it from the rip when you write on the spot. Sometimes you got time to live with it, and I like this, or I wanted to change this or whatnot. So they was like, yo, that shit fire. I'm like, yeah. And then there's like Pharrell on his way over. So when he came in and he played it, he just started yelling like, woo, that joint crazy. And I was like, all right, I guess I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
So when I left from there, we went to get something to eat, and then Pusha was like, yo, let me play our album for you. Lord willing. This is like, it ain't mixed, none of that. So up until that point, everything Pharrell had did was radio sounding joints.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Clips album was the first time that he made like dark, hard beats with weird hooks and unorthodox. So I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this shit crazy. Because it didn't sound like anything I had heard up until that point.
Yeah.
And then when he was like, yo, this is our first single, and he played Grinding. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I'm hearing it for the first time.
Saying these Jones, everybody saying.
And I'm sitting there like, I'm listening to it, right? I'm like, that shit's so left field, but it's fire. So he's like, what you think? I said, dog, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's fire. I don't know if everybody else gonna hear it how I hear it. I hope they do, because it's fire, but it sounds totally different than anything Pharrell was doing. So the album wasn't coming out till later that year. This was like January 2002. The album came out like August, I want to say. So I fly back to LA because I was working with Dre. I was living at LA, working right with Dre. And about June, I'm riding in the car one day and I hear it come on the radio in the middle of the day. I'm like, hold on. It's that song. So I called him. I said, yo, y'all join on? He like, what? I said, dog, it's on the radio in LA. And then from there, Grindr just kind of blew up and whatnot.
That's crazy.
And like working with Dr. Dre, it's a double-edged sword because I worked with Dre for years. And I learned so much. I learned so much invaluable stuff. But you working on Dre's clock. And for somebody that's super rich, he move how he move. You dig what I'm saying? And so I learned a lot, but it was like we working on so much music that nothing's coming out. It's like you feel like you're spinning your wheels. So as the summer was approaching and they was getting ready to put their album out, they called me like, yo, we about to go on the road. Like, what you doing? I'm like, man, I'm out here working, but it's like I'm spinning my wheels. So they was like, man, why don't you see if dude let you come out with us and whatnot? So I went to Dre and I was like, yo, my homie's got something moving. You dig what I'm saying? And they asked me to go on the road. So he's like, well, listen, I'm gonna leave the door open for you to come in and get production and write for me and all that and whatnot. And do what you gotta do. And I respected it. You dig what I'm saying? Because you could have like,
dope.
and whatnot. So that's how I started. That's how I got in with it. And I tell people all the time, we wasn't homies. Like, most time people put their homies on. We weren't homies, we just met. And they rocked with what I was doing, and I rocked with what they was doing and whatnot. It was genuine. And that's how we started running. I went on the road with them and it turned into the real gang.
And it shows how dope of an artist you was that a person will remember like you 2 years later. 2 years.
Man, I thought it was cat. I promise you.
Ain't that crazy, man?
Yo, when he said, man, we were just talking about putting you on this record. In my mind, I'm like,
I ain't see y'all 2 years.
I ain't seen nigga 2 years.
Your belief wasn't there in yourself like that when the crazy, you ain't realize how dope you was, right?
Well, I didn't realize they had that impact on them.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? I knew that I rocked with what they did, and I knew they rocked with what I did from the days and a couple of days we were working together.
Oh, okay.
But it was, imagine working in the studio with somebody one day. And then years later, they still like, man, we ready. You dig what I'm saying?
We're waiting for you.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Yo, you are history, man. You're walking, talking, living history, man.
Man, thank you, man.
Crazy, man. I mean, one day they might have you up in the museum, your face up there.
I'm gonna tell you something that when a friend of mine pointed it out last year, it kind of caught me off guard because I never looked at it like that. But I started in Dr. Dre's camp. And then I went to Pharrell's camp and I worked with Star Trek on Pharrell's album and all the Clips albums. But then we went to Kanye's camp and I worked. What? Yeah, I've been a writer for Kanye for like last 14 years. What? One of his writers. So I'm one of the only dudes that been in Star Trek, Aftermath, and Good Music camps.
Yo, where have you been? I'm trying to figure it out. You've been all over the place.
Question: is it true that you wrote his Dr. Dre verse for the Watcher?
It's the Watcher 2. It's the one that's on Jay-Z's album. Because the Watcher, the original one was on Dr. Dre's album. Okay. So when they did the Watcher 2, it was Rakim, Dr. Dre, and Hov. Yeah. And I wrote Dr. Dre verse on it.
Oh, man.
And here's the crazy thing about it. Initially when we did it, it wasn't for Jay-Z. Like, when I met Dre and I started working with him, I started writing for him. One day he was like, yo, I got a song I did on my album called The Watcher. I want to remix it. And he was like, I want you to write something new for me. So I'm like, cool. So he had put this guitar part in there on a keyboard. But he like, yo, the guitar guy gonna come in tomorrow. When you come back, I may just go to the hotel and write something. So I go to the hotel. I write 2 verses. So when I come in the next day, I say both of them for him. And he like, I like this one better. I was like, cool. So I had to go in there and rap it. I know I'm a fan of this.
Who was that? That was Jay that said that? Or no?
Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre. So I went in there and I laid it and then I wrote it down so he could read it. So he reads it and listens back to it at how I rapped it. So he can go in the booth and do it. So when he laid his part, Eminem and D12 came in. They heard this shit and they was like, man, what the fuck wrote that? It was like, dude right there. And Eminem was like, that shit crazy. I was like, damn, thanks. Because Dre was going to shoot this big video for it. He was going to put out a maxi single and all that. So he like, man, we're going to shoot this big video, all that. I'm like, all right, cool. Musicians, everybody. And 3 days later, he was like, nah, I ain't doing it. I'm going to something else. And I was like, what? It was the first time I had seen the business part, how something could seem like it's about to be
blow up.
And then that quick it dissipated.
One decision.
So he took the song and shelved it, right? And then maybe a year or so later, my manager called me and I was in Philly and he was like, yo, I heard that song, the joint you wrote, Drake, that watch it, Hove on it. I said, Hove on it? He like, yeah, man, he gave it to Hove for his album. And Hove put like a 32 bar verse on it.
Yeah.
But Dre 16 that I wrote said nice
Wait,
next to
then y'all got Rakim on there
and
too.
Rakim's on it. And his verse
That was 30. That was his 30 song.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, that's just a testament of when you're doing what you do at the level that need to be done at. Because when I first, I got to tell you the story of how I met Dr. Dre. So when you asked me about Rob and Wayne,
Yeah.
all right. So Wayne was my neighbor, right? He was an OG from my block. My mom lived here. His mom lived here. But he older than I am.
Right.
So he was managing Rolex
Mm-hmm.
when we was doing the figures thing. So one day he hit me up and he was like, yo, I sent the Major Figures album. This is when we put out independently to my homegirl in LA.
Yeah.
She sang and she let Dr. Dre and them hear it. And I'm taking Rolly to LA to meet Dr. Dre. So I'm like, oh man, that's what's up. He's like, man, you should come out with us. So I'm like, no, that's Rolly opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't go out there for it. But I remember how Nora was telling me about LA and whatnot. So when he asked me the second time, I was like, no, man, y'all go do y'all thing. When it was me they really wanted to hear, you know what I'm saying? They was going to listen to Rolly too, but they was asking who I was.
Oh.
So the third time he asked me, I was like, well, I've never been to LA before. So, man, all right, cool. I'll go. And when we get to LA, Dre was gone for the weekend. But his partner was a guy named Melman that was his production partner. And these musicians. So they was like, yo, Dre not here. I mean, he went away with his wife for the weekend, but he left these beats for you. So I went in the booth and they had 10 beats that played back to back. Fast, slow, mid-tempo. And I like blacked out on all of them. And then All-Star Weekend was going on that weekend in Oakland.
Yeah.
When the one when Vince Carter put his arm in the joint. So we left Dre in the studio and went there. Me and a bunch of cats from Mary Avenue.
Yeah.
So when the weekend was over, we was about to fly back to Philly. And then they called and they're like, yo, Dre came back and heard what you did. He wants you to come back to LA. So we fly back to LA. I go to the studios. I got to meet him for the first time. And he like, damn, nigga, I think you hot. So he like, I'm about to go on the road with Eminem. He's like, but when I come back off the road, I want to lock in the studio with you. And I was like, oh man, listen, I'm with it. Yeah. So he's like, yo, we're going to be in contact. And then that's how I eventually moved to LA when he came off the road and start, assigned to Dr. Dre and start working with them.
So, yeah, man, this is crazy, man.
So my question, how is it balancing yourself in the music career and your family?
Man,
if you want to touch,
I gotta talk to that because hopefully this can be insightful for cats that do music that need to hear it. Because my wife and I have been together since we was in high school, right? So it wasn't like she signed up for marrying somebody that rap or this is the career that I would be in, right? So it just was kind of thrust upon her. So you gotta have somebody strong in your corner that if you're trying to follow your dream, that's gonna have your back. If you don't have that,
it ain't gonna work.
It ain't gonna work because it's not for the weak. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people all the time, you'll love music way more than it'll love you back. If you're able to do your thing, you'll have moments that are great, but the time and effort that it takes to put into it is much more than usually what you get back on the other end and whatnot. So my wife knew that this was my dream I was following. So she held the crib down, held my kids down, held the house down while I moved around doing what I needed to do. What I said though, I never wanted my kids to grow up and be like, man, my dad wasn't here. He was right. So I made a conscious effort that whenever I wasn't away working and I was home, I went to PTA meetings, I went to all field trips. My kids played sports. I went to AAU, team, all that. As much as I could, I went to, right? Yeah. Now my kids are adults. Dad, you was at all that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't make everything, but I made a majority of things. Because I didn't want them to look back and be like, nigga, you wasn't here. No, I didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? So we could laugh. Field trips we went on, basketball, AAU tournaments, all that I went on. And I got 5 kids. That's what I'm saying?
I got 6.
But I got memories with all of them from all those different things.
Right.
So I made a conscious effort, you dig what I'm saying, knowing that I'm gonna be away doing music, that the time I spend home, I gotta make sure I'm home. Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that.
That's
So
perfect.
listening, reflecting back on the apartment, right? As you look back and reflect on that, how does it hit you like, dang, we all from the same hood. The figures, Kevin Hart, Kevin Hart living upstairs. When you sit back and reflect on that and what came out of area ad, what feeling?
No, man, it's one of pride, you know, because when you from the inner city, it's already odds against you.
Absolutely.
For certain things. You can get caught up in
anything. Walking down the street.
You dig what I'm saying? You get caught up in anything. So the fact that cats that I knew from that aspect have been able to go on and do great things, man, I smile. I'm proud of my brothers all the time.
Absolutely.
You dig what I'm saying? I would see Kevin Hart as a kid. You dig what I'm saying? He come up the steps past my apartment. He see my daughters, hey, little big heads. He wasn't even a comedian. He just a kid. He just a kid that lived upstairs from me. Could you imagine your neighbor growing up and becoming like one of the biggest stars in the world? Your neighbor that you've seen.
What?
You dig what I'm saying? Or Gil and Wallow, who I know Wallow since he was maybe, let me tell you, I met Gil. This is funny, I'm gonna keep it short. So my wife's mom used to work for Lucan Steel, which was a steel mill out in Conshohocken. And every summer for the employees, they would have like this give back day where they rented this place that had like games, basketball court, swimming pool, barbecue, all that they do for the employees. So we look forward to it every summer. Like my wife, her sisters, the kids, we all go out there. It was in Bluebell. So we go out there and we playing basketball. It was this young boy on my team. He just kept talking trash. I said, Shorty, you can play, but you talk shit too much, man. And it was Gil. Right? I said, Shorty, shut up, man. Like, I mean, like, dog. So I didn't know he was from Erie Avenue. So maybe a couple months later, I seen him. I said, yo, you was Shorty from out Bluebell. What you doing around here? He like, man, I live up the street. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, like I said, everybody knew him for playing ball. Rod, he played ball and whatnot. So when Gil started rapping, that's when he started bringing Wallow around. You know what I'm saying? Who's younger than him. So Wallow had to be like 14 maybe. And he just was going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And I could see it. I'm like, sure, because it was a few young guys in our neighborhood, Lil Richie, it was a few of them that was like going the wrong way, 100 miles an hour. And he was one of them. You know what I'm saying? So when he went to jail, I wasn't surprised. I was hurt to see it because we trying to do music. But I'm like, damn, I saw where he was going. So like I said, over the years, he'll write me periodically. I still got some of the letters. I'm trying to do this. When I come home, I want to do this. I want to do that. This. So right before he came home, I didn't know he was about to get out. I was up Erie Avenue and he had called somebody's phone and we got on the phone and he was like, yo, man, I want to do this. And I said, Lo, unless you put action behind what you're saying, it's like every jail dude who say I'm gonna do this and the other. Man, when he came home, I think it was in the first week, he was on Gil IG talking and whatnot. And I saw the space that he was in. So I ran into him down Northern Liberties and I said, brother, he went home no longer than 2 weeks. I said, brother, I see what mission you on. I see what you're doing. Stay focused and you ain't gonna believe where God take you.
Man.
Right? I told him that he went home 2 weeks. So from that point forward, watching his progression and everything, I'm not surprised. I'm proud of him. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember him when he was that kid going 100 miles in the wrong direction. Now you're going 100 miles in the right direction. So I'm always proud when I see everything that I see him and Gil doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm proud because they're my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just was with him a few weeks ago and whatnot. And man, we just laugh and joke and whatnot because it's nothing like laughing and joking with people that know you. You know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That know you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, so I'm proud of all of them. Same thing when I see Kev. Like when I run into Kev, like, yo, I ran to his brother once he became successful. He's like, dog, ain't it crazy? My brother, I'm like, dog. I remember when he was just a little kid going right up the steps and whatnot. So I'm super proud of them dudes.
That's great, man. That's great.
I got a question for you. How do, from your point of view, do the industry view Philadelphia as a whole as far as artists coming out of it? Because sometimes it seems like they don't make enough traction or they get there and then it just falls right off.
Here's the thing. The majority of people in the industry, and it's just from me traveling around, know that we have really good rappers. But the flip side of that coin is just because you're a good rapper don't mean that you can make songs. And I'm gonna be honest, I can rap really well. I never looked at initially the songwriting aspect, how important that is to your career as an artist, until we start working with Kanye, and I start understanding the formulas of putting songs together. You dig what I'm saying? Because we have a lot of good rappers. I've been happy to see what Uzi has been able to do coming from here, because they figuring their way out. Meek has been able to evolve from where he first started. You dig what I'm saying? And then understand formulas of, you dig what I'm saying? You know, making it work and whatnot. So I think slowly but surely we're having more artists that get traction than before, and that's because they're learning how to make songs and not just worry about the rap aspect. Because you can rap really good, but that don't mean that you can make a song that somebody want to buy.
That's a fact. Hear that, people? You gotta learn to make a song. It ain't all about rapping.
Songs. About 14. I mixed. I'm a hook man. So you know that's
it's a big part of it.
I sing. I'm a songwriter.
I'm curious. How was the interaction between you and Meek when you knew he was in the video Willie and the Bike? Now I'm
gonna tell you what's funny. I didn't know that. He told me. Like the first time that I met him, I was at the Roots picnic when they were still having it on Delaware Avenue. And I was backstage and whatnot, and I seen him, and he was, you know, having success and whatnot. So we spoke, and he said, "Yo, man, I gotta tell you something." I said, "What's up?" He said, "Man, I was one of them kids wheeling the bike on your partner Hot Damn." And I'm like, yeah. Yo, and it wasn't until one of them sites went back and like showed it and whatnot that I saw, like, damn, that's crazy. Right? Like, I mean, you don't know who's watching or what impact it may have on somebody when you're doing what you do. Because I know the people that I grew up being a fan of, when I got to meet them and whatnot, it's like, man, you don't know how impactful it can be. So you just got to put your work in.
It seemed like a bug that just goes around. This person touched this person. This person touched this person. Man. If you there, then you get it. For some reason, you get the bug. Everybody getting the sickness. Man. I mean, that's all.
It's crazy because at the time when I started with Major Figures, Philly had no rappers that were on outside of Will Smith and the Roots. Will Smith and the Roots were
the only
people that represented Philly on hip hop. So when me and the Figures started doing it, and then you had Siegel and them, you had Siegel initially. Like we met Siegel, we weren't on yet. We met Siegel like the same week he met Jay-Z. Like the same week. Like when I met him, he like, yo, dog, I was just up there with Jay-Z and like jumped on 2 songs. Like we met like that same week. You know what I mean? So we had a camaraderie right from the rip. You know what I'm saying? And like we went to South Philly to a garage they used to be in and whatnot, and they heard us rap. And they're like, yo, where y'all niggas from? We be like, North. So we started going down there every day. And every day we would go down and be more people down there and whatnot. And that's how I kind of like started. You know what I mean? Us. And then we knew P. Crack and we knew Freeway. You know what I'm saying? We used to record at Rug Crib in the basement. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of people that got on, we all kind of knew each other before record deals and all that came into play. You kind of knew who was dope and who would make it and who wouldn't.
And then, because in that era, y'all had the people you named, and you also had Most Wanted.
We had Philly Most Wanted. We met them.
Journalists. I went to a studio as a pup. They wanted me to meet a guy named Said Sinatra.
That's my OG.
You know what I'm saying?
That's my OG right there.
Said Sinatra. It was, and that was like, that's a lot of Philly artists was on during that moment, and I don't think it's been the same since then.
No, it has.
That's a lot of artists on at one time. You know, and I might be missing somebody. Like Ram Squad. So that's like how many groups is that was on at one time in Philadelphia? You know,
the energy was different back then.
It was. And I got a funny story about your cousin and Nam and them. So Gil and I, when still with Suave House, when they were trying to sign me, we met him. The owner of Suave House, Tony Draper, had some meetings for Gil in New York. He was trying to get him on, I don't know if it's a XXL cover, something like that, but we had a couple meetings in New York. So we go up there, and while we at Def Jam, my son and his whole camp was up there.
All right.
Gil had battled my son already. I was there I mean, it was me and Gil that was in there when he battled my son and went down in front of Hov and them. So we back up there for another meeting. My son and his whole camp is in Def Jam. So while Gil is in his meeting, I'm in the hall chilling. They got a cipher going on.
Yeah.
So I go over, I join the cipher. What I don't know is all of them are together.
Yeah.
So a couple of them rapping. I'm like, well, I feel like they're going
Right.
right.
Damn, that's crazy.
Now, back in that day, I had verses for days. So I start going back.
Yeah.
And as I'm going back, I get one dude out the way, another dude to step up. Get dude out the way, another dude step up.
Yeah.
Now, it's people that's in the office, because we're in the office,
Yeah.
that start like gathering around and whatnot. So this girl, she come up. So I was like, girl. So she spit. She tried to go second. I said, oh, you playing. Okay. I give her something, get out of the way.
Yeah.
So they got this wild Busta Rhymes like dude. He come up. I get him out the way.
Yeah.
So finally, my son steps up, right? And he in the middle of his verse and kind of stumbled. And when I jumped in, Chris Lighty was like, ho, we ain't doing it. Because he was signing Chris Lighty.
Yeah.
Like, ho, we ain't doing that. Now, the wild part was, Hov was there and seen it and he pulled me to the side because they were trying to sign us. Like, Seaway took Spade and all them up there and had us meet him in New York. And Jay-Z wanted to sign us and whatnot. So when he saw that, they pulled me to the side and whatnot. I was like, yo, got my phone number, reach out to me. Like, because they were trying to seal a deal with Major Figure signing with Parker. So
I was going to ask that.
We go up to so the next day, we go up to New York for another meeting that Gil had. So when we at Def Jam, I'm trying to see what room they in. So I open the door. It's all the dudes I battled the day before. Right?
In the room.
Ice grilling me, right?
Yeah.
So I peek in, I just laugh. I close the door. Right? So then we go get something to eat. So while we at dinner with Tony Draper, Puff comes. Like, we have no idea. Like, Puff just walks up to the table. So I'm like, man, it's Puff. And this is Puff, like, after Biggie. Puff. So he come up, speak to the table. He whispers something to Tony Draper. So Draper's like, yo, when we leave here, we going over to Daddy House Studio. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we leave, we get over to Daddy House Studio. So when we go upstairs, he had an apartment that was next. The studio was here and he had an apartment that was next to it. So we went to the apartment. Like, it had wood floors that you had to take your boots off where you could come in. Whatever wood this was, you couldn't walk with shoes on this joint. So we come in. So it's just Puff and like his assistant in there. And it's me, Gil, my man Tino, and Tony Drake. So Puff like, yo, I heard y'all nice. He was like, man, Philly cats, I hear they starting to do their thing. I heard y'all nice. I want to hear y'all battle somebody though. So in my mind, I'm like, how you go from I think y'all nice to I want to hear y'all battle? That was weird to me, right? So he was like, yeah, man, it was this young cat we had up here all week. And he going on and on, but he never said who it was. So we just listening. It was weird to me to hear somebody say, I think you nice,
but I want to
hear you battle somebody. So he says, yeah, man, because Bad Feet, this, that, and the other. So he was talking about this guy named Billy Badgate, who was from Harlem. And Gil had killed him
already.
At Priority already. Yeah. So I was like, yo, Gil killed him already. So he's like, what? Badgate? He was like, yeah, a couple months ago. And then I said, man, I battled my son and them yesterday at Def Jam. Yeah. So Puff like, my song? Yeah. I said, yeah, nigga, my song. Right. So he like, I got his number. I said, nigga, call him. Right. So he get the phone, he called. Yo, I got these Philly cats up here saying, I mean, he went on you yesterday. I grabbed, man, yeah, you remember what happened yesterday? Right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, son, we on our way. Nigga, I'm here. Right. Give the phone back. So now Puff talk trash. Oh, man, Philly versus New York. I got 20,000 on New York. So Tony Draper like, you ain't said nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I got Philly covered. Yeah. So now we waiting for them to come up. So like, we're going to take it next door to the studio. Bam. So when we go next door to the studio, when we come in, we in the room right before you go in, the side door, like a little door open. J-Lo walk out. But this boy ain't by no Puff battle. So we like, J-Lo in this joint? Right? Puff, this how you doing it? Yeah. So we waiting. We wait for my son to get there. Another door open up. I hear music coming out. So when that door open up, Q-Don and Nard come out. We had no idea they up, like, from the crib. We had no idea they was up there working on Puff on some records. So now it's us, but now they from Philly too. So now, so my son will come in 20 deep. 20 deep New York, nigga, that energy. Yeah, whatever, nigga. So Puff take us in the studio part. So the tall dude who had ice grilled me the day before, his name was Captain. They're like, my son and Gil, y'all go at it. And you and Big Man, y'all go at it. So I'm like, cool. So we go in the booth. So Puff is the judge. Well, there was a couple guys that was the judge, and Puff was kind of like hyping it up.
Yeah.
So Gil would go, my son would go. They tried to say it was a tie. I'm like, what? Gil go, he won. They go again, they get to my son. I'm like, man, what y'all doing? What you trying to pull off? Puff like, man, I ain't the judge.
Yeah.
So they go, I think they was kind of tied up. And then Gil was like, then Puff was like, big man, you a big man. So me and the boys step up. So we go, they give me one. We go again, they try to say it was a tie. I go again, I get 2. He go to rap again and start stumbling on his words. So when I jump in and whatnot, the Puff like, hold on, oh man, it's going down. He stopped the joint. He take the tape out, because this one they was recording on ADATs. He break the ADAT up. This will ruin some careers. I said, nigga, I don't know. Nigga, we went out.
You broke it up.
I promise you.
Oh my God.
I promise you.
Nah.
Yeah, man. And this is before video came. And but anyway, he pulled me and Gil to the side and Tony's raping like, yo, man, I think y'all fire. Man, I want y'all to come up here and take a meeting, this, that, and the other. And after we left with Drake, we had a conversation. Ultimately, we didn't take the meeting. Drake was trying to do something different, but that was our New York experience with Diddy and my son, the whole campus.
So the Diddy House was the name of the studio?
Daddy.
Yeah,
Daddy House. All right, because I was like, at first I was trying to figure that out.
Oh, yeah. The name of that studio is Daddy's House.
Yeah.
So I went out of town. Well, when Rockefeller tried to sign us, and when the paperwork came back, the money wasn't fair to us.
Right.
So when we opted not to sign with them, we figured we had to have a plan B and whatnot. So we had saw at that time a lot of cats, Master P and them were like doing their own albums independently, putting them out. So we figured that we'd put our own album out independently. Then we had Black and White to be able to go into labels and show them we sold this many units in our region and whatnot. And it give us more bargaining power. And that's ultimately what happened. So I was out of town. So we recruited all the producers in Philly. It was like, yo, we doing our own album. Let's lock in. So we knocked the album out, and then we knew we needed a single, like to drive the album. So we hit all the producers up like, yo, we need something catchy like for the radio. Because everything we had did up to that point was hard street music.
Yeah.
So I was out of town. I'm not sure if it's when I went and met Dre and them for the first time, but I was out of town and they called me and they was like, yo, man, we found a record that's gonna be the single. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I get back in town and they play Yeah, That's Us for me. And the first time I heard the beat, I'm like, man, what the hell I'm gonna do to this? You know what I'm saying? Because it was so radio and different from anything. We rapped all hard beats, banned from TD. You know what I'm saying? Like all them type Jones. So I was like, my approach to it was, I'm a huge fan of Biggie, and all big singles was radio joints, except for The Warning. But all his other joints, Big Papa, all them joints was radio joints. But the one thing that was consistent was he was himself on them joints. He was slick talking. I don't care how radio the beat was, more money, more problems. He was still talking slick on it. So I was like, man, if I just talk something slick on it, then I think it's slick. And it offset the fact that this beat is so radio that people won't look at it a certain way. So that's how I came up with the smooth thug with the good man want to holler. And I'm like, if I could say something to the chicks that a chick could say and whatnot, I think I could win and whatnot. So
I told you my man Mouth that 7th Street, he said he was using that line before the internet. He got a lot of cheeks off the strip.
Hey,
tell me when the 6ix9ine died.
Yeah, tell me when he was supposed to do that. Yeah. I ain't mad at him.
Okay. All right. So the state of hip hop in Philly now, like with this drill music, right? You see these players, they killing each other.
Yeah.
So like, what advice could you give them? Because I know like y'all had beef back then as well. But it wasn't like if you see him, I got to kill him. You know, it was more so, y'all might fight or y'all go against each other. What can you leave the youth with on how to survive out here and stop taking each other's lives before it gets started?
It's terrible to see, first and foremost, man. And what a lot of youth don't get that I notice as I'm looking, is they don't realize how fragile life is. Like, man, if you get into a shootout, there's a huge chance you ain't gonna come out of that joint. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is it that serious? Like, we had beef with a few cats that could have went all the way there. My take always was, is it as serious as one of us being out of here? You dig what I'm saying? And if our beef wasn't that, then what is it? You dig what I'm saying? So the fact that as time went on, and I would run into cats that there was differences between some of my friends and their friends, and we got to talking. We're like, man, we glad it didn't get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't that serious. If anybody had beef in the streets and it's that serious, you see what the outcome. If it ain't that, don't even put yourself in that position. And I feel like that's not being said enough to these kids.
Right.
Because they immediately go to guns and they immediately go to somebody not being here.
Absolutely.
I mean, which is terrible.
And is I think more so is no guidance. They don't have, they surround themselves with yes men. It's not that person. Yo, what we doing? Nobody died. He just said this on the internet. Like, these kids is killing each other because he wrote this under my post and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why.
They don't know how to process emotions.
Yes, they very emotional.
They go from 0 to 100 like this. And feel like that's the only course of action. I got sons and nephews, and I talk to all of them. All since they was kids. Yeah. And you don't want your kids out here green, but at the same time, you want to understand the gravity of everything. So I talk to them as men. Like, man, listen, this is how you move. Stay out of certain situations. Keep your head on the swivel. Like, all the things that you're supposed to pass on to the younger generation. Yeah. Because it ain't that, man, they're not playing out here
at all.
And you got to be on point. So you're not caught up out here like that.
I think I'm about to get in trouble because I'm going to come off of that question with this. Do you think that the parents is doing enough inside the homes when it comes down to the kids?
No, they're not. They're not.
And most of the time it's not paying rent. It's not plural. It's singular, bro.
And then a lot of them are scared of these kids, man.
Yeah, they want to be friends.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But also, you know, is the element of the internet. Access to information. I feel like kids' eyes are open way faster than they were when we were growing up.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
just because of the things that they're exposed to.
Yeah.
You gotta think we wasn't exposed to all of this stuff.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
And then there's the other element is whereas the kid get raised at home, but the kid get also raised by other kids. So once a child leave the home, their friends and their the people become their mentors. I mean, when they see what they do, everybody wants to be a part of something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could tell a child anything while they're at home. You could say, you don't do this, you don't do that. And they could be raised in a good home. Because sometimes you have kids that come from really good homes.
Yeah.
And then they come to bad neighborhoods and they want to be what everybody else want to be, and they don't have to be that.
They
followers, like you said. Like see it down right on it.
That happens.
Yeah.
So you got to stay on them. You got to stay on them and stay in their ear. Because I got a couple nephews, right, that was going left, and I always stayed in their ear, even when they was going left. And now they grown. Like, damn, glad you stayed on me. I was growing. I mean, I was out of pocket, but you got to stay in their ear.
Like, even I don't even know if they took that out of the school system, because when we was growing up in the school system, we would have trips where they take us to the juvenile center. Yeah. And we see what the outcome is. Like, we need that back in the school. Take these kids to the graveyard. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm being serious, bro, because that's where it's going. And that's the end off. You know? That's a lot of them is going on that path, and we talking about 10 years old. Like, I run a basketball league. I see the kids that I have to apply more pressure to. And they all great kids. But it's just when they're like, all right, so we ran the league in the summertime, 2 months, right? We had these kids for 2 months. I realized last year that I had to reprogram these kids back to where I had them at, because we had them for 2 and we didn't have them for 10. So now I said, that's why I got them all year round. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have that time to pick up these other bad habits that they had. So now I got y'all 12 months. You know,
we need more men involved. You know what I'm saying? Participating in basketball, giving back to the youth, because the one thing that's missing in the community is the OGs. You know what I mean?
No, most definitely.
You know what I mean? And I can't really blame them too much, because sometimes you can be afraid to speak up just because of the response you may get. Say something to the wrong person nowadays. You know what I mean? You might get killed. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we got to start with them when they're younger. I mean, because by the time you hit adolescence or whatnot, it's hard for them to be as receptive
decision
as if
made,
they were
they made a decision
younger.
already, man. And it's crazy because you said Tino Brown. You know they sponsored him and Rodney.
Yeah.
Sponsored my basketball league. So
Right.
Rodney sponsored 15K
Okay.
to my basketball league,
Yeah.
and Tino sponsored sneakers. So
Okay.
they actually have a basketball team.
That's
Students
great.
for life. Shout out to my guy Tino and Rodney.
Brown, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
No,
So
that's my guy.
we did 5,000 for each MVP that
Okay.
year, and $5,000 check towards the mentorship program.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, and they've been rocking with me.
No, that's what's up, man. It's great to hear.
Absolutely.
They need to open back up that Joe Frazier's gym.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody need to
they turned it
clean
into
that
a
up.
furniture store.
Yeah,
I mean, like
them kids back in.
it's crazy because I mean the Rocky statue. I mean, I understand that it brings money to the community or whatever, but there's a lot of other athletes, boxers or whatever that they
Real boxers. Rocky is movie boxers.
You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't allow that building to be knocked down. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a furniture store at this point, but
And here's the thing. I was thinking this the other day. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
you good.
We don't have to wait on them. We got to start being on point with making things happen for ourselves.
Yes,
Because
sir.
a lot of times if we wait on them,
Sir.
we'll be what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it should be a committee, something put in place where we ourselves don't have to wait on them.
And that's what I'm doing. Now, me for the basketball league, bro. We do that out of pocket. You know, I got turned down for numerous grants.
Yeah.
You know, so is a lady in our community that's a politician, Kiana Cedric, me, her, Leak when we first started, Leak Moss. We put up, bro. It was no courts in Kennerton. You know, they took the courts out of Kennerton.
I
My
remember
cousin
hearing
got killed.
Yeah.
Me and Leak put our own money and put courts in their school. You know, and they charged us to put the course in school. We had to pay the school district.
Yeah, you was telling me about that.
You know, it was wild, but it's like this
You
our
had to
community.
put the
Now,
asphalt on it.
yeah, I ride past the schoolyard and I see kids back in the yard. Like, it was crazy to me when I was telling the kids we having a lead, and they like, was courts in there? I'm like, what? Like, we was raised on playing in this schoolyard. The best basketball games, you know?
Yeah.
So they didn't even know it was courts in that yard. That's how long the court's been going.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know?
I thank you for doing that, man.
Most definitely.
As long as
I grew up playing on the courts, man.
Yeah, man. I'm talking about tough runs. There's
tough
legends
runs.
play down there,
Yeah.
man.
No.
You know?
No, I remember Kev playing down there, Gil playing down there, Rolex playing. I used to come down there and play.
Who used to get over on Gil and Roy? Because I keep hearing these stories because Rolly was tough and Gil was tough. Who got over on the court? Because you seen it, right?
They both was tough.
Okay.
I can't remember. I don't want to give it away.
I don't want to give it away.
I can't remember who got over more.
Yeah. You
got
They
Aaron
both
Roley
give
saying,
it away.
Yeah. You got it, Rolly.
Yeah, that's dope.
Aaron Roley on. And you know, I reached out to Spado too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We was talking.
Yeah.
I was actually supposed to shoot a video on the first project, but it was me. I was slacking at the time. My bad, Spado. We gonna tap in.
We're gonna get it together.
On the joint,
Nah,
you know what I mean?
we
We
gonna get all the
bust
figures up here, man. First podcast,
yeah.
figure on here. Then we talk about the reunion that y'all been should have had anyway.
Y'all got
Get
it.
there.
Y'all
It's the
got it.
basement where you stay grounded, where you stay focused. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate Ab Lava coming
Nah,
through,
thanks, man. I appreciate what y'all do. I appreciate what y'all doing, and thank you for having me on here. Definitely a pleasure.
Appreciate you, man.